Hello, my name is Hemingway Jones and I am a fountain pen expert. Self-appointed for the duration of this video, but I've been writing with fountain pens for 30 years. What don't I write with? Ballpoint gels, roller balls. I avoid them as much as I can. I just don't enjoy writing with them. So some of the pens I'm about to take on I've never tried. Others I haven't written with in a very long time. But in any case, I'm going to try a range of these pens and give my thoughts and see if they measure up to the amazing, beautiful writing experience of a fountain pen. So join me today, won't you, as I take on a bunch of ballpoint pens. So just in brief, if you don't know what a fountain pen is, it's a bit of a more old-fashioned, a more elegant and civilized way of writing, where you have an ink reservoir, you have a nib, you're able to customize your ink choices, you're able to customize your writing experience. It has some drawbacks. The ink stays wet for a very long time in some cases, and they are probably not the best to travel with. Sometimes they can be delicate, not all the time. There really is a fountain pen for every type of writer, and that's what I love about it. Now, ballpoint pens also have been around for a long time. The first patents were in the late 19th century. I believe it was 1888. And then they were brought to market by various different people, and sometimes successful, sometimes not. But the biggest patent was in 1938, and then brought one to market in 1950 with the venerable and nearly ubiquitous Bic Cristal pen, which is one of the first ones we're going to look at today. I'm going to use Campus B paper, some of my favorite paper from Japan. Nice, smooth, great finish. Should show these pens at their best. And my first package, I bought these on Amazon, is the Bic Cristal Extra Smooth. I got 10 of these for $3. And to be honest, that's what's brilliant about these. These are making it very easy to write in any way. You're talking about a pen that costs about 30 cents. So anyone who wants to express themselves can do so very cheaply and hopefully reliably. Now what's bad is there's about 1 million of these consumed a day. They go into landfills, they're tossed, they're discarded, so they're not really held in high esteem. And that's part of the problem. If something's so disposable and so sort of commodified, then you don't really appreciate the process of writing. But let's see if I can appreciate the process of writing with one of these Bics today. This actually brings back a lot of memories. I have written with ballpoints on occasion. Sometimes people hand them to you. You don't want to be rude. But it's been a long time since I've held a Bic Cristal in my hand. I'm going to say something really surprising. I actually think the design is really pretty. It just has a certain elegance to it because I think it's hexagonal. I didn't count the sides, but let's say it's faceted anyway. Transparent. You can see the ink level through it. Has that cap we all know, which has been modified since the days I used these at grade school because they want to make sure you don't choke if somebody swallows this. It feels smaller to me than I remember. I'm assuming the dimensions haven't changed, but it really does feel smaller. That's one thing. Okay, so this is supposed to write first every time. That cap was really on there. So let's see if it does. Let's see if it lives up to its writing. It's writing really well. Extra smooth, I wouldn't say it's extra smooth. The thing about these is that it feels a little gummy. So the quality of the ink that's in this, it's almost like a paste. You have your dyes that are suspended in an oil mixture that comes out very much like paint, or paste or gum. And to me, someone who's very attuned to ink flow and constant writing, it feels a little bit like writing with sludge. I feel sort of slowed down, as if I'm pushing through resistance, almost like walking in water. in a pool. I feel like the nib or the tip of this pen, which is a ball set in place that rolls that pasty ink onto the page, just feels like it has a lot of resistance, like I'm actually exerting pressure, which is something you don't do with a fountain pen. It has a constant line, and I do like that. And it has a nice line. I'm gonna do some squiggles, and it's unending. And see, this is pretty impressive because it's right out of the box. It's actually writing pretty well. I do like the Bic logo, and it's very visible in there. It catches the light. But the writing experience is just okay to me. I'm gonna try the signature test. It's not terrible. It really isn't. I'm kind of surprised. I would even say I'm impressed. But it wouldn't be my first choice. It wouldn't be my top 100 choices, to be honest. But it's really not as bad as I was expecting. All right, let's try another one. Our next choice is the Energel RTX. This comes in a 3-pack for around $4.50. So you're looking at a pen that's a little bit over $1. Has some advantages. Always fun to tear through packages. This is something you don't do with a fountain pen. There you have it. You know, this is really catching the light. It's actually really pretty. So the RTX was sort of an enhancement to their Deluxe. The Deluxe had a cap. This one has a retractable nib. I think there's a cover on here if I remember. Yes. So a little cover on the nib, and why? These things can leak if they're pressed against something. They can also kind of dry out. But the point of the ink in here is that it won't smear. It's supposed to dry so fast that it even is good for left-handed writers. So that's one of the advantages of this. I don't like that. See, that would drive me a little mad if I were using, yeah, even, do you hear this? It's not ideal. It's a little rickety. But it does have metal accents, but whenever you put metal into plastic, there's a little bit of dissonance. And one of the things that I find different between resin and true plastic is it definitely feels plasticky in one's hand. The grip is nice though. It's very grippy. But I'm probably speaking too much. The most important thing is, let's write with the Energel RTX. Oh, okay. I will say something about this. Right out of the gate, I'm getting a line. And I'm actually getting something that's closer to a fountain pen, in at least appearance, which makes sense because this kind of ink is a little more liquid than what we were dealing with in the ballpoint. Even the character of the color, you can suspend more dyes, more color in this ink, and it looks much more saturated and interesting. It's not a bad writing experience, to be totally honest. I do once again feel resistance and that noise. It's kind of maddening. But so far with both of these pens, the thing that's really hanging me up is this feeling like I'm pressing through sludge, like I'm working for my line, which is something you don't get when you're using a fountain pen. Nevertheless, it's not terrible. It's flowing decently. And I like that it's retractable. I just wish it wasn't doing this. So I won't be replacing my fountain pen anytime soon with this pen, but I'll have to say it's not the worst writing experience. Let me see if it smears. That's probably important. No, it's pretty good. I just did this little squiggle and rubbed my finger on it. It didn't go anywhere. That's pretty impressive. So you could write and drag your hand over it immediately. That is huge for any left-handed writer. Very important. So, not terrible, but not very inspiring. Getting no inspiration from this pen. But we have some other choices. Let's see how they do. Our next choice comes to us from Pilot. Pilot makes a lot of fountain pens, of course, and some of my favorites. This is actually the most popular gel pen in the world. It's the Pilot G2. Also has a really cool name, G2. It sounds like an airplane. The ink in it is smear proof and water resistant. It's also supposed to be check safe, which is really nice. So if you're one of the people who still writes checks, do so with this. So very nice there. It also has a tungsten carbide ball that dispels the gel ink. Let's tear into it and see what it's like. This pen came out around 1996, if memory serves, and I believe it's the first retractable gel pen. So it's clicky. Clicky's fun. It also makes a noise, even when you write a little bit, right? Noises, lots of noises with these pens, but nice ergonomic grip, pretty pen, translucent, plasticky, but a nice enough design, that sort of industrial design we're all used to. All right, let's see how it writes. That's the most important thing. Once again, it's writing right out of the box. I really thought one of these wouldn't write right away, so I'm really surprised pleasantly. Do you hear that though? It's kind of noisy when you touch paper. These were designed for people that don't obsess over little details, because all these little noises would just drive me a little mad. But let's see if the ink smears. It does a little bit. I think it dries pretty fast, but it doesn't dry immediately. But that's okay, because I will say something about this. This ink is really liquid. It feels like fountain pen ink. Out of the other two and this one now, out of the three that I've tried, this is the most liquidy, the most flowy, and has that least resistance. So it's given me a bit of pleasure when I'm writing with it. The color though is a bit uninspired. It's that sort of basic business blue, but I can't really fault it there. So far the Energel RTX had the most beautiful color, but very nice writing experience. It's really not bad, not too bad. Let's try another one. Where would we be without some kind of Sharpie? Sharpies are just a thing unto themselves. I can't really criticize them. They've been around since the early 60s. They were designed to be able to write on anything. They're sort of a marker in pen form. I think that's the best way to think about it. I used these all the time back in the days of making mixtapes on CDs. You could write on a CD with a Sharpie and that was perfect. And it would dry eventually and not smear or anything, which was brilliant. So people use them to sign their names. You can use these for all sorts of things, but are they fun to write with? And how does it compare with a fountain pen? Ooh, noisy bugger. Okay, very light. Very plasticky, I'll say that. Felt tip, very fine. It's also our first black pen of the day. Wow. This is actually pretty nice. This is sort of giving me all kinds of warm feelings. The reason is that back in the 1980s, when I used to draw all the time, this was my favorite drawing pen. This is actually really nice. I can't really criticize this. The only thing I could say is that it feels very plasticky in my hand and sort of not as stable as a fountain pen. Most fountain pens have a certain rigidity, and this feels a bit giving in my hand, as almost like it's dynamic in its form, which feels a little weird, almost like I could crush it in my hand. But the line is very nice. It makes me want to draw. I want to doodle with this. It's just bringing back all kinds of memories in that regard. It just has a really nice sort of drawing tip. Very fine, a lot of fun. So you could do some really quick little sketches. It's just really charming, almost like New Yorker style cartoons. I feel like you could do with this really quickly. So as a pen, it's really not bad. Permanent ink, pretty great. It's not smearing at all. So construction-wise, I could criticize it, but these are very cheap pens. They also last a long time. They write on anything. It's hard to really criticize it on too many levels. So Sharpie, you actually did a decent job with this one. This is the Zebra G750, a pen I picked up at the Empire State Pen Show. And it's an interesting one. It's a gel pen. It's meant to be more of a premium level pen for them. And what's nice is this sort of opens a conversation about how much maybe you should spend for a gel rollerball or ballpoint. Because the essence of that style pen is the refill. So if you spend too much for the housing of the pen, the barrel and the cap, you're really using generic refills. Even if it's something like a Mont Blanc, it's still a ballpoint refill that you're putting in there. So you might want to consider whether or not it makes sense to spend too much on a luxury ballpoint, because you're getting the same writing experience in many cases as the Bic Cristal. So this is a very durable brass pen for about 15 bucks, which is sort of hard to argue with. It also comes with 2 refills, and as long as you don't lose them, that's a pretty good deal. I'll probably lose them. Wow, this has some heft to it. It's also faceted in the barrel, which is very nice. Ooh, nice milled grip section, raised and grainy. Real nice for grip. Beautiful white, retractable nib. Has a little cover on it, so you pop that off. And see how it writes. Zebra. Wow. Once again, no skip, no hesitation. It's ready to go right out of the box. It feels nice. It's pretty quick and pretty smooth. There's maybe a hint of hesitation. I love the consistent balance of this. It has a nice weight. It's not too heavy. It's hard for me to approximate what it weighs. I'm gonna guess somewhere around maybe 20, 30, I'd say 30 grams. But it's consistent through its length. So it feels pretty nice. Nice thick line. You know, the irony is that sometimes I write really well with these, but I so rarely use one. This one even gives a bit of line variation. Line variation is that sometimes if you press a little harder or on your downstrokes, it's a bit wider than some of your other strokes. So I'll try it with like a signature and you can see what I mean. You see in spots, it's got a bit of line variation, which makes it a little more pleasant. Nice consistent line. I think if you're going with a gel pen, you want something maybe to keep in your car, something to fill out forms with, because the one thing a fountain pen cannot do is fill out forms in multiple copies, but fortunately we don't have to do much of that these days. But this is a really nice choice and a nice alternative. Not a bad pen at all from Zebra. You know, I don't know which one I like the most out of these, but I think this might be my top pick right now. I always like to choose a favorite. I think if I had to choose out of all of these, I think the Bic Cristal, as venerable as it is, would probably be my least favorite. Sorry, Bic. And my favorite is probably the Zebra. I like its weight. I love the color. It looks sort of space age, and it writes brilliantly, and it has a nice feel. And some of these have different purposes. I mean, Sharpie, you have to have around your house because it'll write on anything, even glass sometimes. So you have to keep this one. But this is probably top of my list. So that wasn't too painful, to be honest. I was actually pleasantly surprised. In preparing for this video, I thought that I would have this moment where I'd say, see, they don't write when you reach for it, because many times with ballpoints, they don't. Part of the problem is that you have them scattered around the house, and sometimes you have to try 3 or 4 before you get the one that writes. And then it trails off, you don't toss it away, whatever it is. So that is a consideration with them. With the fountain pen, as long as you keep ink in it, it will always write when you need it, and it'll be nice and smooth and pleasurable. And that, to me, that is everything. For me, it's the pursuit of a beautiful, consistent, pleasant line. So on that bombshell, I think it's time to end. So thanks so much for joining me today. I make videos about journaling, writing, inks, and everything that keeps you inspired. So if you enjoyed this, please subscribe. I'd love to have you on this journey with me. And if you want to support the channel even more, there's membership as well. We have a pen pal group for Cognoscenti and Illuminati members. So I make new videos all the time, and I have a live show as well. So we will see each other again very, very soon, further up the road. So take care of yourself, and thanks for joining me.